In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the centers of trade and politics, there drifted a small human convoy. It consisted of 3 starships, one for research, one for medical support, and one that served as a command vessel. The leader of this convoy was Captain Elena Voss, a calm and thoughtful woman known for her patience and firm sense of responsibility. She was respected by her crew not because she used fear or power, but because she listened, understood, and cared. The convoy was not on a mission of war or wealth. Instead, they traveled to study distant star systems and offer help where it was needed. Many species in the galaxy thought humans were unusual. They were seen as a young species new to cosmic life and still learning their place. Some civilizations found this admirable. Others found it amusing. But no one saw humans as a threat, and most did not consider them very important. One day, the sensors of the lead ship detected something unexpected. A signal, faint, weak, almost lost among cosmic static. Lieutenant Mara Sen, the communications officer, carefully adjusted her controls. "Captain, I am receiving a distress signal. It is fragmented, but it is definitely a call for help." Elena's eyes sharpened. "Source location?" "It comes from a planet nearby in this system," Mara replied. "I will project the coordinates." A star map appeared in the center of the command room. A small blue-green planet shimmered at the edge of the projection. There was no recorded colony there, no registered trade port, and no known established civilization under current maps. Yet someone was calling. Elena stood still for a moment, thinking. Many captains would have chosen to ignore such a signal. It could be a trap. It could be old. It could be from a species that wanted nothing to do with humans. The galaxy was full of unknowns, but Elena was not a person who stepped away from a cry for help. "Set course," she said softly. "We will go." The ships entered orbit around the planet after several hours of travel. What they saw was heartbreaking. The planet had suffered great damage. Much of its surface was scarred. Forests were burned. Water sources were contaminated. Cities were silent. The sky held a dim haze as if the world had recently gone through catastrophe. The team scanned the planet for signs of life. To their relief, there were survivors. Many were weak, injured, or frightened, hiding in shelters and caves. The species was later identified as the Zorathi, a gentle and intelligent people with tall, slender bodies and soft, crystal-like eyes that changed color with emotion. Their culture was peaceful, artistic, and harmony-focused. Yet they were now living in despair. Elena organized a landing team. Medical officers prepared supplies. Scientists gathered environmental restoration tools. They landed near a ruined community where several Zorathi gathered weekly, waiting for help that they feared might never come. One young Zorathi stepped forward. Their eyes were shifting in color, reflecting nervousness and hope. "Do you come to help?" the Zorathi asked, voice trembling a little. Elena stepped down from the ship, walking calmly and slowly, showing no sign of threat or superiority. "Yes," she said kindly. "We come to help. We are humans. We are travelers. We mean no harm." The Zorathi leader, who was much older and visibly frail, approached. "We are grateful. Our world suffered a disaster. We had no one else to call. Many believed no one would answer. Our strength is fading." Elena looked into the elder's eyes, and in them she saw deep loss but also dignity. "We cannot fix everything," she said honestly, "but we will do all that we can." From that moment, the humans worked tirelessly. The medical ship became a center of healing. Doctors treated wounds, helped rebuild nutrition, and taught simple recovery techniques. Engineers repaired water filters, solar collectors, and environmental regulators. Scientists studied the soil and air, slowly helping restore balance. Every day was filled with work. None of it was dramatic or grand. Yet every action mattered. Among the Zorathi was a young observer named Lyra. Lyra was quiet but perceptive. She studied the humans closely, not out of distrust but curiosity. She watched how humans comforted children, how they shared food even when supplies were limited, and how they spoke with respect, even to the youngest and the oldest. One evening, Lyra asked Captain Elena, "Why did your people come?" "We are strangers to you. You owe us nothing." Elena smiled gently. "When someone asks for help," she answered, "we do not need a reason to respond. Kindness is reason enough." Lyra thought about those words for a long time. To the Zorathi, kindness was a sacred value. But they had believed the galaxy had forgotten kindness. Yet here were humans proving otherwise. Weeks passed. The humans stabilized the planet's environment. New growth appeared in the soil. Water became clearer. The Zorathi regained strength. Hope returned to their community. One day, as Elena prepared to leave, the Zorathi gathered to offer thanks. They did not give money or technology, for they had little. Instead, they offered a promise. The elder spoke clearly in a voice now stronger. "We will remember. When help is needed, when the time is right, when your people call out, we will answer. Your kindness will not be forgotten." Elena accepted the promise with a bowed head. "Then let us meet again one day in peace." The human convoy left the planet carrying no treasure, no weapons, no trophies. Only memories and quiet pride. But in the shadows of deep space, not all eyes were friendly. A distant observing faction had monitored the event. They watched humans help the Zorathi. They watched humans rebuild instead of conquer. And they misunderstood. To them, humans seemed weak, too gentle, too emotional, too willing to give. They recorded their observations and sent messages back to their leaders. The message was simple. Humans are harmless, but they did not understand. They did not see what Lyra saw. They did not realize that kindness is not weakness, it is a seed. And seeds grow, especially in the hearts of those who never forget. Years passed quietly in the galaxy after the humans helped the Zorathi. The memory of that event lived warmly in the hearts of the Zorathi, especially in the mind of Lyra, who had been young at the time. Now older and wiser, Lyra had become a diplomat, one who met representatives of different species, spoke in councils, and carried messages of peace. Many still remembered how humanity had helped a world that was nearly lost, and Lyra made sure the story was told with honesty and appreciation. Meanwhile, humanity continued to grow. Humans were still new to the galaxy and did not control vast territories or command enormous fleets, but they had gained respect among some worlds. Their ships were known for adaptability, their people were known for creativity, and their explorers were known for traveling without fear. Still, many species in the galaxy viewed humans as harmless, curious wanderers, good-hearted but not powerful. They believed that humans did not hold enough strength to influence the galaxy in any meaningful way. But those who remembered the help they gave remembered something deeper. Humans did not need to be feared to be respected. Lyra traveled to the Grand Galactic Council, a gathering place where leaders from many species discussed problems, agreements, and travel rights. The council chamber was vast, filled with seats arranged in circles. Each seat represented a civilization. Lights from the ceiling shimmered softly like stars overhead. Lyra stepped forward to speak. Her crystal-like eyes shifted in soft blue, the color of sincerity among her people. "I bring a message of gratitude," she began. "Years ago, when our world suffered great hardship, humanity came to us. They helped us without expecting anything in return. They did not boast about it. They did not ask for payment. They simply helped. Some council members listened with interest. Others did not look up. To them, such stories were small, emotional, and not important to the greater politics of the galaxy. One council representative from a powerful mechanical-based species clicked in a metallic voice. Humans acted kindly, But kindness does not influence the direction of the galaxy. Strategy and authority do. Lyra did not argue. She simply replied, kindness influences hearts. Hearts influence worlds. Her words settled like seeds into the silence. Even if not everyone agreed, some listened. At the same time, across the stars, a human exploration fleet entered a new region of space. Their mission was simple: to map uncharted systems, learn new star patterns, and study possible habitable planets. The fleet was commanded by Commander Aaron Hale, a thoughtful and calm individual, much like Captain Elena from years before. Aaron stood on the command platform of the lead ship, watching a holographic display of stars. He admired the beauty of exploration not because of glory, but because every new discovery felt like opening a new chapter of a story. "Commander," the navigation officer called softly, "there are traces of unknown vessels nearby." "They do not match any of our friendly records," Aaron nodded. "Keep an eye on them." "We will not engage. We are only passing through." But the unknown vessels had other intentions. These were ships from the same shadowy faction that once observed humans helping the Zarathi. They were a quiet power in the galaxy, distant and calculating. Their leaders believed that only the strongest deserved influence. To them, kindness was not a strength, it was an error. They had determined long ago that humans were harmless, but they now wanted to verify that conclusion. The unknown vessels began moving closer. One approached slowly, projecting a message. The communication screen flickered on. A voice sounded, calm but strangely distant. "Human vessels, state your purpose in this region." Aaron replied steadily, "We are explorers. We travel peacefully. We do not seek ownership or conflict." The voice responded, "Your species is small in the galaxy. You have few allies. Why do you travel so far?" Aaron smiled just a little. "To learn, to grow, to understand others." There was a long silence. Then the communication ended without a reply. The unknown vessels began surrounding the human ships, not attacking, but testing, observing, drawing nearer and nearer to see how humans responded to risk. Commander Aaron kept his voice calm. "Maintain distance, no sudden moves. Prepare navigation for safe retreat." The fleet worked smoothly, each crew member communicating clearly. They adjusted flight patterns to avoid collision, used careful maneuvering, and employed clever timing to pass through narrow openings between the unknown ships. They did not panic. They did not provoke. They simply adapted. The unknown ships finally drifted away. They had learned something new. Humans did not require superiority to prevail. They required thought, coordination, and calm. Later, aboard the flagship of the shadowy faction, analysts discussed their findings. "Humans are able to manage pressure efficiently," one said. "They do not panic," said another. "They are not predictable," concluded a third. But instead of respecting this quality, they looked at it with caution. They may become inconvenient in the future. Meanwhile, word of the encounter spread quietly to other civilizations. Many listened closely, especially those who had once been helped by humans or had seen their behavior firsthand. Lyra heard about the event during a council meeting. Her eyes deepened in warm violet, color of thoughtful concern. She remembered Elena's words. "When someone asks for help, we respond." Now she saw that humans did not only respond to calls for help, they responded to challenges with steady hearts. She spoke again in council, this time more firmly. "Do not underestimate humans. They may not have the largest fleets or the greatest territories, but their strength is different. Their strength lies in how they think, how they connect, and how they stand together." A representative from another peaceful species nodded in agreement. "The humans helped us once as well," they said softly. "Their support restored our lost gardens. They did not ask for anything in return. We remember." This time more council members listened, not all, but more, because kindness may travel slowly, but it does not fade. On Earth, families lived peacefully. Students studied, engineers built ships, doctors healed patients, and artists created new forms of beauty. People remembered stories of their explorers, of the Zarathi, of other friendly worlds, but they did not know that soon their kindness would be tested in a way the galaxy had never seen. For in distant space, the shadowy faction began planning, not because humans were dangerous, but because humans were different. They helped others without calculation. They cared without expectation. They grew through compassion rather than conquest. This idea unsettled those who valued power above all else. Yet far away, on the Zorathi homeworld, Lyra stood under a sky full of stars. The air was clear now. Plants grew again. Children laughed in the bright sunlight. She looked at the stars where the human ships once departed. "We remember," she whispered, "and when the time comes, we will stand with them. For gratitude once planted becomes loyalty, and loyalty once grown becomes strength." Time moved forward peacefully for a while, but the galaxy was always changing, always shifting like waves of light across distant stars. Though humanity continued exploring and sharing knowledge, a quiet tension had begun to form in certain regions of space. Some worlds welcomed humans warmly, remembering their compassion. Others viewed humanity with uncertainty, wondering if kindness could truly hold space among powerful civilizations. In this growing uncertainty, Lyra, the Zorathi diplomat, kept traveling. Her calm voice and thoughtful presence made her a respected figure. When she spoke about humans, she did so with sincerity, not persuasion. She simply told the truth. They help because they care. Her words reached many hearts, but not all minds. Far away, on Earth, a new generation of explorers trained for future missions. Among them was Commander Mara Voss, granddaughter of Captain Elena Voss, the same Elena who once led the convoy that saved Lyra's world. Mara was known for her steady leadership, clear thinking, and gentle confidence. She did not use loud speeches. Her strength came from silent assurance. Much like her grandmother, people often said Mara carried Elena's spirit, calm, determined, kind. Mara served on the starship Horizon Dawn, which guided many exploration fleets. Her crew trusted her deeply. They admired how she always listened first before making decisions. One morning, Mara received a message from the Solar Exploration Council. The holographic screen glowed softly in her cabin. Commander Mara Voss, the council director, spoke in a clear tone. "A situation has begun developing in the outer sectors. Several peaceful colonies and travel stations have reported pressure from a distant faction. Their demands are unclear, but they appear to be testing boundaries." Mara listened carefully. The council director continued, "While there has been no direct conflict, we are concerned. We want you to lead a diplomatic mission, show presence, offer help, and reassure our partners that they are not alone." Mara nodded with calm certainty. "I will go, and I will represent our values with respect." As the message ended, Mara stood at the viewing window. She watched the Earth spin quietly below, blue, warm, alive. It was not a planet of conquerors. It was a planet of learners, dreamers, and caretakers. She smiled softly. "We travel to build bridges, not barriers." Meanwhile, in another part of the galaxy, the same shadowy faction that once observed the humans began to speak among their council. They had noticed that humans were gaining respect in small but meaningful ways. They saw how Lyra and others spoke well of humanity. They observed how humans formed friendships that grew naturally across distant worlds. To them, this was unusual. To them, influence must be controlled, not gifted. They believed strength must be displayed, not earned. A quiet decision was made among them. They would apply subtle pressure on worlds that supported humanity. Their methods were not aggressive or loud. They simply withheld trade, delayed communication permissions, or questioned local agreements. They created uncertainty, hoping worlds would distance themselves from humans. But something unexpected began happening. Instead of turning away, some worlds reached out to humanity for reassurance. Among those was the planet Seren Vel, a green world with floating forests and gentle seas. They had once exchanged cultural knowledge with Earth, songs, artwork, and scientific studies. They remembered that humans treated them as equals, not resources. The leader of Seren Vel, Governor Relian, sent a message that reached both Earth and the Zorathi homeworld. Humanity once extended kindness to others. Now humanity may need the presence of friends. We offer cooperation, wisdom, and open communication. Lyra read the message with calm warmth. The color of her eyes shimmered gold, the Zorathi shade of resolve. She sent a reply to Seren Vel. "Your words will not be forgotten. We will stand with them, just as they once stood with us. She then turned toward her journey vessel. It is time to bring others together. When Mara's ship arrived at Saranvel, her crew was greeted not with fear but with welcome. People gathered along the landing docks holding silver ribbons, their cultural symbol of unity. The air was fragrant with fresh sea winds and the sound of distant gentle waves. Lyra was there, waiting. When Mara stepped onto the landing platform, their eyes met. Though they had never met before, there was recognition, perhaps of stories passed down or perhaps of shared purpose. Lyra approached, her eyes shimmering with soft light. "Your grandmother changed my world," she said quietly. "Her kindness still lives with us," Mara smiled warmly. "She taught me that kindness is not just a gift. It is a responsibility." Together they walked toward the council hall of Saranvel, where leaders from several friendly worlds had gathered. The hall was open and filled with sunlight, with tall green vines climbing up the transparent walls. Representatives from different species shared their experiences. Some spoke of how humans helped restore water systems. Others shared stories of medical assistance, cultural exchange, or simple supportive friendship. A representative from a desert world spoke. "When others overlooked us, humans listened. They did not treat us as less. They treated us as equals. We remember." Another added, "When our students wished to learn new sciences, humans opened their academies to us. They did not ask for trade or favor. They simply offered learning." Mara thanked them all with deep sincerity. "We never helped to gain power," she said steadily. "We helped because we believe every life deserves dignity. We believe progress grows best when shared." Her words settled gently like rain nourishing a field. Lyra stood and addressed the assembly. "The galaxy now faces a quiet uncertainty. Some would prefer control over cooperation, but we do not need to respond with fear. We can respond with unity." She looked at Mara and then at everyone present. "If we remember kindness, we remain strong. If we stand together, no pressure from outside can break our peace." Heads nodded. Soft agreements filled the hall. The group decided to form a mutual support coalition. Not for war, not for competition, but for shared reassurance, shared progress, shared trust. This new coalition did not require armies. It required communication, cultural exchange, and joint research programs. They agreed to hold monthly gatherings to send teachers, engineers, and diplomats to one another's worlds. It was a network of friendship. Friendship built not through force, but through gratitude, however far away. The shadowy faction watched these events with quiet confusion. They had expected fear. They had expected worlds to step away from humans. Instead, they saw the opposite. Friendship was spreading, kindness was growing. They began to realize something they had never understood. Kindness does not weaken. Kindness connects, and connection creates strength that is deeper than control. As the coalition continued to strengthen, Mara and Lyra spent more time talking. They discussed cultures, histories, and hopes for the future. One evening, they walked along the floating forest paths of Saranvel. The trees drifted on soft water currents, glowing faintly with natural bioluminescence. The stars reflected gently on the still surface. Lyra spoke softly. "Do you think kindness can truly change the galaxy?" Mara looked up at the stars. "Kindness alone is not enough," she said. "But kindness remembered? Kindness honored? Kindness shared? That can change everything." Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, because kindness becomes loyalty. Loyalty becomes unity, and unity is a strength no power can undo." They both knew a moment was coming when this unity would be needed. Not for conflict, but for protection. Protection of dignity, culture, and peace. The roots had been planted. The galaxy had begun to remember. The galaxy drifted in quiet balance for some time, but there was a gentle shift taking place beneath the surface. The coalition that formed on Sarenvel began to strengthen day by day. Worlds that once stood alone were now exchanging teachers, agriculture experts, medical teams, environmental technicians, and cultural storytellers. The galaxy was slowly becoming more connected, not through control, but through understanding. Humanity played a central role in this connection, not because they demanded to lead, but because they encouraged cooperation. They listened. They learned. They shared. Mara Voss and Lyra traveled from world to world, guiding meetings, solving misunderstandings, and building bridges. They were different in many ways, one human, one Zorathi, but they shared the same vision. A galaxy where kindness carried value, where trust mattered, where respect was a foundation, not an afterthought. But while many worlds appreciated these growing bonds, the shadowy faction watched with increasing unease. They had always believed the galaxy must be shaped by power. They believed cooperation led to softness. They believed unity without force was temporary and weak. Now they saw a network forming, quiet, steady, and sincere. They could not understand it. So they feared it. Instead of open challenge, they tried to test the coalition through subtle means. Trade agreements were delayed. Travel permissions were questioned. Communication links became slow or unreliable. They hoped that small inconveniences would weaken bonds. But something unexpected happened instead. Whenever one world faced an obstacle, another stepped forward to help. A transport delay on one planet resulted in another offering temporary support. A shortage of a rare mineral was solved when a distant friend sent extra supplies. Even misunderstandings between cultures were handled through open dialogue led by Mara and Lyra. The coalition became stronger, not weaker, because difficulties did not break friendship. They proved it. One day, a council meeting was held on Sarenvel. Representatives from all member worlds gathered in a great open-air hall surrounded by floating gardens. The air smelled of fresh leaves and gentle ocean breeze. Mara stood beside Lyra, observing the gathering. Each representative wore symbols of their homeworld traditions, woven fabrics, glowing shells, crystal feathers, silver circlets, or simple beads of natural stone. When the council opened, the Sarenvel governor, Relian, spoke warmly. "We stand here today not as separate worlds, but as partners who trust one another. Our unity is not a chain, it is a bridge." Lyra stepped forward. Her eyes glowed softly with calm light. "There are still those who view connection as weakness," she said. "But we know the truth. Connection is strength. When one voice stands alone, it can be ignored. But when many speak together, it is heard." The hall murmured in agreement. Then Mara spoke, not loudly but clearly. "We do not seek conflict. We do not seek to prove superiority. We only seek to protect the right of all worlds to live with dignity and peace. If any world is pressured or challenged, we stand with them, not as fighters, but as friends." Her words traveled not only through the hall but across digital space, recorded and shared far beyond its walls. Across the galaxy, many listened. Some nodded quietly, some questioned deeply, some were moved. The shadowy faction listened as well, but instead of being moved, they felt unsettled. To them, influence was a thing gained through strength. Yet here, influence was being gained through trust. They gathered in private halls, hidden behind distant stars and quiet stations. "Humans have formed a network outside our view," one of their council members said. "They spread connection instead of control," another replied. "They are changing how the galaxy thinks," a third concluded. None of them spoke loudly, but they all understood something important. The galaxy was beginning to shift. Meanwhile, on Sarenvel, Mara and Lyra continued their work. They met engineers designing collaborative research vessels. They visited schools where children from multiple species studied together. They shared stories from their cultures, poems from Earth, songs from the Zorathi, ocean chants from Sarenvel. Everywhere they went, they saw kindness growing, not just as memory but as action. One evening, Mara and Lyra stood under the floating lantern trees. These trees released small orbs of gentle light that drifted into the air, creating the illusion of stars floating close enough to touch. The ocean reflected the light in soft ripples. Lyra looked at the lanterns drifting upward. "Do you think the galaxy will accept this change?" she asked quietly. Mara watched the sky, Not everyone will accept it at first, she replied. But change does not need everyone to understand it. It only needs to be strong enough to continue. Lyra nodded. Your grandmother once said something similar. She told me that kindness is like a star. It may seem small from far away, but if you follow it, it leads you through the dark. Mara smiled gently. She said that to me too. They stood in peaceful silence for a while. Then a soft tone sounded on Mara's communicator. A message appeared simple and clear. Distant colony has requested help with environmental restoration. They say they heard that humans respond to need. Mara looked at Lyra. Lyra smiled. We will go, because kindness answered without hesitation. So the coalition ships prepared to travel, not for confrontation, but for assistance. Engineers, ecologists, cultural advisors, and environmental restoration experts loaded their gentle tools and learning materials. The fleet was not large, but it carried hope. When the ships launched, they were accompanied not only by humans, but by volunteers from Serenville, Zorathi teachers, desert world agricultural experts, and ocean world biologists. This was not a fleet of power. It was a fleet of care. Across the stars, many watched the fleet depart. Some admired, some questioned. Some planned, but most of all, many remembered. They remembered the humans who helped without asking for anything. They remembered how kindness was not forgotten. They remembered that unity had been chosen freely, not forced, and memories shape futures. The shadowy faction received word of this fleet. They studied the message carefully. They are forming a coalition that moves with purpose, one leader said. They respond to calls. For help with presence and unity, another added. This is how influence grows, a third spoke thoughtfully. Finally, one concluded, we expected humans to remain small, but we did not understand how they build loyalty. Their leaders fell into quiet reflection. For the first time, they began to see that humanity's strength did not come from ships, numbers, or territory. It came from something deeper. Kindness remembered. Kindness shared. Kindness returned, and that kind of strength could not be controlled, it could only be respected. Thus, without raising threats, without forcing anyone, without claiming any dominion, humanity changed the galaxy, not through dominance, not through fear, but through connection. The coalition continued forward, shining softly across the stars, uniting worlds one gentle step at a time. And soon, a moment would come where the galaxy truly understood. Humans don't forget kindness, and their gratitude can shape worlds. The celebration on the planet Lyran had ended only a few weeks ago. Yet the memory of it remained bright in every heart. The people of Lyran spoke with grateful voices. The healers of the Uluran Union walked with pride and relief. Most of all, the humans of Earth felt something deep inside their spirits, something gentle and strong. They had helped a world that once helped them, and this time, the galaxy had seen it. Captain Mara stood near the large viewing window of the starport Harmony. The window looked out over space, where countless stars shimmered like tiny candles. She had seen many skies in her life, but this one always made her feel peaceful. Earth's sun was gentle here, golden and warm. She placed her hand on the glass. It is strange, she said softly to herself, how one small act of kindness long ago has changed so much. Footsteps approached behind her. It was Andar, the Lyran elder who had traveled with her since the event on Lyran. His eyes were brighter now. His shoulders no longer carried the heavy worry they once did. You still think about the past? Andar said kindly. Mara nodded. Yes, humans remember kindness, Andar, we always have. We may not always show it, but we do not forget. Andar smiled. And because you remembered, Lyran lives. Mara turned to him with warm eyes. Because you helped us first, we only return the gift. The discovery of new paths Earth scientists and Lyran scientists worked side by side now. Together they studied the nature of the strange illness that had threatened Lyran. The disease had taught them something new about life, balance, and the connections between living worlds. With the virus gone, Lyran began to grow green again. The rivers sparkled with life. The great forest trees slowly recovered. Children of Lyran played under sunlight, laughing softly as wind passed through leaves. Across the galaxy, many worlds began to notice the bond between Earth and Lyran. The story was told in academies, starships, learning centers, and homes. The message was always the same. Humans do not forget kindness, and when they return it, the galaxy changes. Where once some doubted humanity, now many reached out in friendship. Ambassadors came from distant nebula colonies. Trade channels opened between worlds that had once never spoken. Music festivals were held where voices from many species sang together. New medicines were shared freely, not sold at high price. Even cultural disputes began to soften. The galaxy felt lighter. The gift of memory. One day, Captain Mara, Commander Elias, and Andar were invited to speak at the Galactic Peace Council. The hall was large, built of glass and crystal, reflecting gentle beams of light. Representatives from many species were present. They listened quietly as Mara spoke. Long ago, humans traveled through the stars and faced fear, loneliness, and hardship. In those moments, someone reached out to us. Someone gave us hope. That someone was Lyran. We learned something important that day. Help given from the heart never disappears. It lives, it grows, and one day it returns. When Lyran called for help, we did not see a stranger. We saw a friend who once held our hand. So we held their hand in return. The hall remained silent, not from doubt, but from deep emotion. Then Elder Andar spoke next. His voice was soft, but everyone heard it clearly. We once believed we were a small world unnoticed in the galaxy, but humans showed us that no world is too small to matter. They remembered us when we could barely remember ourselves. And because of that, Lyran lives. We will forever carry gratitude in our hearts. The hall rose to applause, not loud or dramatic, but warm and sincere. A future full of light. The following months were calm. Starships flew between Earth and Lyran daily. Students exchanged between academies. Families traveled to learn about each other's cultures. Commander Elias helped build a new academy on Lyran that taught young minds about healing, cooperation, and friendship between worlds. The academy's first lesson displayed a simple message. Kindness is not forgotten. Hearts remember. Mara visited Lyran again when the first flowers bloomed across the land. She walked near the gentle streams, feeling the soft breeze. Children smiled and waved at her. She waved back, her heart warm. The planet looked alive again. The colors returned. The songs of birds filled the air. Andar walked beside her. This is because of all of us, he said softly. No one saved Lyran alone. Many hands held hope together. Mara nodded. Yes, the galaxy seems a little closer now. Andar looked at her with calm certainty. This is only the beginning. The kindness of this moment will travel farther than we can imagine. A message sent to the stars in time. A beacon was built. It was simple, shining softly at the edge of Lyran's atmosphere. It did not send warnings. It did not call for help. Instead, it carried a message to every starship that passed by. The message said, if you receive kindness, remember it. If you have the chance to return it, do so. A small act can shake the galaxy. Travelers read it and carried the message onward. The galaxy listened. The final reflection. One evening, Mara stood once more at a viewing window, this time on Lyran. The sky above was filled with stars and soft glowing clouds. She felt peaceful. Commander Elias stood beside her. Do you think the galaxy will stay like this? He asked. Mara took a slow breath. Maybe not forever. Hard days may come again someday, but now the galaxy knows something important. It knows what kindness can do. And that knowledge will not fade. Elias smiled gently. Humans really don't forget, do they? Mara looked up at the sky. No, we don't forget kindness. And when we give it back, we give it with our whole hearts. The stars shined brightly like distant lanterns watching over every world.